We're finally getting some official information about the Fallout television show that's planned to be released by Amazon Prime. First up was a tweet October 25th released by Prime Video and Kilter Films, both companies playing a production role in the development. And basically it shows a screenshot of what looks like a vault door opening. We're seeing this bright white light coming out in a silhouetted figure. This is very reminiscent to kind of an iconic moment that has occurred in a few of the video games, notably Fallout 3, when the lone wanderer, who has never seen the outside world before because he grew up in the vault, has to escape. And there's a moment where he's blinded by a white light as he's leaving the vault for the first time, and as it clears, he sees the sprawled out wasteland and Washington, D.C. in the distance. It's a very, very iconic moment. And in Fallout 4, they did something similar. Obviously, the protagonist of that game, the sole survivor, had seen the outside world, but it was his first time seeing the outside world after the nuclear war, as he's leaving the vault, and you see Massachusetts sprawled out and Boston in the distance. These are very iconic moments in the game, and it's awesome to see that it looks like we're going to get something similar in the television show. And the actual context of what's going on here isn't quite clear, but based on the picture, we can pick apart some potential details. Now, the silhouetted figure standing in the vault door, he appears to be wearing a Pip-Boy, and it's on his left side, which indicates that he's looking away from the camera and out of the doorway into whatever wasteland awaits for him. And he also seems to have a holster and stuff like that. The people in the foreground look very shocked at what's going on, possibly because they've never seen the outside world before. It could be a similar situation to Vault 101, where the residents were never allowed to leave and they grew up and got old and died and had children within the vault, whole generations living underground for about 200 years. And this could be a situation where they're shocked that the vault door is being opened potentially for the first time, and that someone is actually daring to leave and venture out into the wasteland. Though there are a couple other details which are worth mentioning, which could also be adding to their kind of shocked expression. We see someone kind of hidden away a little bit, but we see his legs and feet sticking out. Looks like he was knocked out or possibly killed, just laying there on the ground. The residents could be shocked because there was some kind of struggle or something like that, as someone was trying to get the vault door open and the authorities of the vault were trying to stop him, something like that. Not clear whether this person who appears to be knocked out or killed on the floor was trying to help open the vault door or was trying to stop the silhouetted figure, but it is very interesting detail. Also worth noting is the attention to detail and how this does look like something out of the video game series, which is very cool to see. We already know that the makers of the show are paying close attention to the style of the video games, at least the more modern Bethesda versions, such as Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. We've gotten leaked photos from the actual set of the show, a few from inside the vault, a few of a grocery store. Based on those photos, even though they weren't an official release, it immediately became clear that the makers of the show are paying close attention to the style, which is awesome to see. You do want to have it look like the video games, but in real life, live action. All the way to, they have a little sign on the side of this catwalk leading to the vault door, listing kind of the vault rules, and we've seen that in the video game series too. It almost looks like it's a screenshot right out of the video games, like they just took it and blew it up to the size of a poster. It looks very close. We also see on the vault suits of the residents, kind of looking shocked, that this is Vault 33, and we already kind of knew that Vault 33 was going to be a part of this television show. Once again, thanks to these leaked photos from the actual set of the show, we know that the vault that was heavily featured is Vault 33, and it looks like, unlike a lot of the other vaults in the series, this was either a control vault or one that was able to overcome whatever social experiment was being conducted on them, because it looked fairly clean and fairly normal, and that's not really common with the vault because of the social experiments that were being conducted on residents or some other problem that happened. A lot of the vaults failed, and we see this one, based on these leaked screenshots, looked pretty clean and pretty normal. So that was kind of the first thing. Doesn't tell us too much about the plot of the show or anything like that, but it does give us some cool little details here and there. and does seem to indicate that there's going to be some like vault opening door scene like a couple of the video games have done, and that's awesome. Definitely support that idea of putting that type of iconic scene in the show. Then the day after, Bethesda released a video featuring interviews talking about the show. And this is a pretty big deal because no one who's been involved with this show has really talked about it all that much. The announcement trailer was released about 2 years ago, and it's pretty much been radio silence since then. We obviously got the leaked set photos, but nothing really official. Little bits of information here and there as well, but once again, those were mostly coming from third-party sources. So we're actually getting Bethesda talking about it, and we're getting Kilter Film and Prime Video releasing a photo from it, so perhaps this is an indication that they're going to be ramping up the marketing campaign soon. We can hope possibly a trailer in the near future. Maybe since they kind of finished up their first kind of round of filming, so maybe they have enough material to release a trailer, but I'm just speculating on that point. We're at least getting more information about it. So this video that was released by Bethesda was part of their Fallout retrospective series, which has included a bunch of videos released all month to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Fallout series. And the videos have mostly just talked about the game and the development of the games and kind of the future and stuff like that. They've brought some of the original developers back to talk about it. It's very interesting. If you're a fan of the series, it's definitely worth kind of watching through these videos. They're not very long. They're usually only a few minutes long, so you can probably get through them very, very quickly. But this particular one that was released October 26th, they're actually talking about the show. And the video itself was called Fallout Retrospective Beyond the Game. And it starts with Todd Howard talking about how they're always thinking about the future of Fallout. And obviously the games are a big part of that, but in the near future they have this television show to look forward to. And as he's talking, the announcement trailer that was released 2 years ago is playing in the background. He mentioned a few interesting things. He mentioned for the last 10 plus years they've been looking for kind of the right fit to make a Fallout movie. And obviously this is going to be a television show, but it does kind of show that they've been kind of thinking about this, and their original plan was to do a movie if they found the right fit in terms of someone to make it and probably the actual plot and all those other things you would want to get right. But that's been going on apparently for over 10 years, and they finally found someone in Kilter Films and obviously the showrunners, Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. Todd Howard also mentioned that he always wanted Jonathan Nolan to be part of this. Obviously, we really don't know how much of that is true. They're going to be complementing each other when companies are kind of working together on something like this. That's what they do. Like, oh, this is the best choice. We found the best choice. Rah, rah, rah. But maybe that is a bit of truth that he always envisioned Jonathan Nolan being part of this. They also talked briefly in this video with Tim Kaine, who was one of the original co-creators of Fallout, and he talked about how it brings him kind of pride to see the IP that he invented turn into this massive thing with games and now a television show. And that's kind of nice to see. You can kind of imagine what it'd be like to create kind of a fun little video game in the 90s and see it blow up to one of the biggest video game series today. So it was really, really cool to kind of see briefly, not too much detail, but briefly his thoughts on getting a Fallout television show. Then the video went to Iscan Pelli, who's an art director at Bethesda, talking about how he was blown away by how the show looks and how close it looks to the video games. Then the video ends with Jonathan Nolan looking like he's on the set of the show itself. We see this kind of broken up town in the background. Looks like it was bombed out. There's buildings crumbling and stuff like that. So very reminiscent of the Fallout series. And he's kind of playing coy. He's acting like he's never heard of the Fallout series or barely heard of it. Kind of acting like he's not in the middle of actually making the show. And then they play up the joke by having someone hand him a Nuka-Cola wearing what is clearly power armor. We only see his arm and hand, but it's clearly power armor. But even with that, we appear to have gotten more images of the show, at least a set, because we see this bombed out town. It's hard to say where this town is because obviously In the Fallout universe, the United States is pretty much completely destroyed. Bombed out town looks like it could be anywhere. But we see the ground looks very sandy, which could indicate the Mojave Desert, somewhere else on the West Coast, California or Nevada or something like that, where you would get that kind of sandy ground. And that is obviously speculation, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. And since we know that Vault 33 is going to make an appearance, that also indicates that this may be on the West Coast too. However, we also got the grocery store set, which was in Long Island, and that obviously is on the East Coast, so who knows? My speculation is that a central piece of the plot is going to be a cross-country trip. Whatever inciting action causes the protagonist to go out, maybe leave his vault and go out into the world, similar to Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. Perhaps whatever he's going after, whatever he's trying to find, maybe a family member, like in the games, he'll start out on the West Coast in Vault 33 and then have to go all the way to the East Coast, where we get some of those screenshots taking place around New York. That's just my speculation, but I think that's what's going to happen. But yeah, this town, hard to say where it is, but it looks likely that it may be set for the Fallout show and possibly on the West Coast. I'm hoping that this is an indication that the marketing campaign is going to be ramping up soon and we'll get a trailer, but who knows? It might just be a one-off thing as part of the anniversary of the video game series, but considering we got this screenshot and these interviews, I'm hopeful we're going to get a lot more soon.